11 men stand on a wind-swept hill in Galilee. The dust clings to their ankles. Baking under the midday Mediterranean sun, they are quiet. We have built an entire religious culture around the idea that the real work of God happens somewhere else, across a border, over an ocean. We think of geopolitics. But to a first-century Jew standing on a Galilean hill, ethne does not mean geography. It means the Gentiles. It means the pagans. It means the outsiders. It means the people who do not know the Torah, who do not keep the Sabbath, who bow down before silent, carved marble statues. Ethne is not a map coordinate. It is a category of disgust. To fully grasp the shock of this word, you have to understand the air these 11 men breathed. For centuries, the survival of the Jewish people depended on strict, relentless separation. You survive the empires of Babylon, Persia, and Rome by building an invisible wall around your community. You memorize the purity laws. You eat the right food. You stay away from the thick, greasy smoke of pagan altars. If a Gentile's shadow falls across your path in the crowded marketplace, you go home and ritually scrub your hands and arms in cold water just to wash away the defilement. You do not invite them into your home. You do not sit at their tables. You do not share a cup with them. And Jesus takes that ancient, blood-deep boundary line and shatters it. Make disciples of all the ethne. He is not just telling them to travel further down the road, under a different sky. We have accidentally engineered a two-tier system of Christianity. On the top tier, you have the missionaries, the pastors, the professionals who go. He is telling them to cross the deepest, most volatile social divides in the ancient world. He is telling them to apprentice the unclean. He is demanding they sit down with the Roman centurions who wear the heavy bronze armor of the occupation. He is demanding they break bread with the Greek merchants who mock their thick Galilean accents. This is the uncomfortable, abrasive reality of the Great Commission. For centuries, we have sanitized this command by turning it into a fundraising category for overseas travel. But the true weight of ethne requires something far more difficult than buying a plane ticket. It requires crossing the street. It requires walking into the spaces you were taught to avoid. It requires sitting across a table from someone whose worldview, whose politics, whose very lifestyle makes you deeply uncomfortable. The Great Commission is not a call to conquer the globe. It is a call to dismantle your prejudices. Jesus is asking these men to look at the exact people they were taught to fear, and to invite them into the intimate, sweaty, daily work of apprenticeship. But there is a glaring, terrifying flaw in this master plan. He is handing this cosmic, impossible task to 11 exhausted men who are currently struggling just to believe what they are seeing. And in a matter of seconds, he is going to leave them entirely alone on the dirt. On the bottom tier, you have everyone else, the people who stay. The people who pay the bills. He is about to leave. The wind pulls at the edges of their rough linen cloaks. The sun burns high over the Galilean hills. He is preparing to step out of the physical, tangible frame they have known for 3 years, and they are staring at an impossible assignment. Apprentice the ethne. Go to the Romans who hammered the nails. Go to the Greeks who worship silent marble gods. Go to the pagans who despise your very existence, and teach them how to walk the way I have walked. They have no money. They have no army. They have no political leverage. They are uneducated day laborers standing in the dry dust of an occupied territory, and they are being asked to rewrite the spiritual DNA of the human race. If the sentence ended at the command, it would be a suicide mission. But Jesus does not end with the imperative. He ends with a guarantee. And behold, I am with you always, to the end of the age. The English translation reads smoothly, but the original Greek carries a heavier, almost rhythmic weight. He uses the phrase passas tas himeras, literally all the days, or the whole of every day. Not just the days you feel holy, not just the days you are standing in a synagogue, not just the days you see the sick healed and the demons flee, the whole of every day. The day you are pulling empty, rotting nets. It is a theology that leaves millions of people sitting in fluorescent-lit cubicles, standing at kitchen sinks, washing dishes. The day you are weeping over a closed grave. The day you are sitting in a damp prison cell, chained to a Roman guard. Matthew is pulling a brilliant, beautiful literary thread here. He opened his entire gospel account 28 chapters earlier with an angel declaring that this child would be called Emmanuel, God with us. Now, standing on the edge of eternity, Jesus closes the book by confirming it. The gospel begins with his arrival into our dirt. It ends with his refusal to leave it. The final sentence is not a farewell. It is an anchor. He is telling them that the proximity they experienced in Galilee is not ending, it is expanding. The presence that multiplied the bread and silenced the storm is now going to permanently attach itself to their ordinary, terrifying, daily movement. They do not need to pack the divine presence into a travel bag. They do not need to journey to a temple in Jerusalem to find it. They carry it in their lungs. They carry it in the rhythm of their footsteps. They breathe in the Galilean air one last time. They turn around. They begin to walk down the mountain. The men on the dirt heard the promise and stepped immediately into the empire. But 2,000 years later, millions of us are still paralyzed, waiting for a calling that never actually existed, and gripping the steering wheels of commuter cars, feeling like their lives are somehow secular, like their daily routine is just a waiting room for real ministry. We are a generation paralyzed by a phantom calling. We sit in padded chairs and wait. We wait for the lightning strike. We wait for the unmistakable voice. We wait for the dramatic departure. We wait for a divine map to unfold. We think we are supposed to pack a bag, but the Greek participle is already ringing out over the centuries. As you are going, you are already going. You go to the office under buzzing fluorescent lights. You grip the cold plastic of a steering wheel in stalled traffic. You walk through sterile hospital corridors that smell of sharp bleach. You stand at a kitchen sink, scrubbing grease off a ceramic plate. You walk onto a noisy factory floor. You stare at a glowing screen. We have drawn a thick black line down the middle of our lives. On one side, the sacred, Sunday mornings, worship songs, overseas mission trips. On the other side, the secular, spreadsheets, diapers, commutes. We treat the secular like a waiting room. We sit in it, checking the clock, assuming God is busy somewhere else. We think our 9 to 5 is just a funding mechanism for the professionals who do the real ministry. But Jesus never drew that line. Your daily routine is not a delay to your purpose. It is the deployment. If Porathance is true, your current physical location is not a coincidence. The Great Commission is not an exit strategy from your daily routine. It is the sanctification of your current location. The boardroom is a mission field. The chaotic playroom is a mission field. The break room smelling of stale, burnt coffee is a mission field. The auto shop is holy ground. We constantly look for the outsiders across an ocean. They are sitting in the cubicle next to yours. They are standing behind you in the grocery checkout line. They are sitting across from you at your own dinner table. We have spent centuries trying to export the presence of God to the ends of the earth. We have funded massive, sweeping campaigns to cross international borders. But we have forgotten how to carry that exact same presence across the street. The lingering guilt you feel for not being a professional missionary is a theological error. It is the direct result of reading a participle as an imperative. God is not waiting for you to cross a border to begin your assignment. He is not waiting for you to learn a new language. He is not waiting for you to abandon your trade. He is waiting for you to realize you are already on the field. When you finally understand that the Great Commission is an assumption of your ordinary, daily movement, the pressure to become someone else entirely vanishes, but the stakes for who you already are skyrocket. Because if every step you take is already sacred, to feel the weight of what Jesus is actually asking these 11 men to do, you have to look closely at the original Greek text, and every person you bump into is already the target. It all comes down to what you are building at the end of the road. 11 men stood on a windswept hill with calloused hands and received the blueprint for the cosmos. A single Greek participle was spoken into the Mediterranean wind, and the morning commute became a sacred deployment. The famous command to go lost its heavy geographical demand and fell entirely into the quiet rhythm of ordinary footsteps. The true weight of the sentence landed on one imperative verb, and the sweaty, intimate work of apprenticeship began. The ancient, blood-deep boundary line of the ethne was shattered, and the unclean outsiders were pulled straight to the table. A resurrected king refused to hand his uneducated followers a map and handed them his permanent, unshakable presence instead. And a phantom calling was finally dismantled for the modern church, and the secular waiting room became holy ground. One sentence, one God. But maybe the part that stays with me most is the hesitation. Matthew records that right before Jesus gave them this massive master plan, some doubted. The Greek word is edistazon, standing in two places at once. Jesus is looking at fishermen who are wavering. You have to strip away centuries of English translation habits and stare at the raw mechanics of his final sentence. He is looking at traumatized men who are terrified of the Roman armor shining just a few miles away. Men who have absolutely no money, no theological degrees, and no political leverage. He sees their trembling hands, and he does not disqualify them. He does not demand absolute, unwavering confidence before he hands them the future of the human race. He does not replace them with scholars. He just tells them to start walking. If you are in a season where your daily life feels entirely unspiritual, where the buzzing fluorescent lights of your office or the greasy floor of your workplace feel a million miles away from holy ground, this single word is a place to breathe. Poruthans. As you go, he does not ask you to pack a canvas bag. He does not ask you to quit your job. He does not ask you to cross an ocean to find the ethne. He asks you to open your eyes to the people already standing next to you. The branch does not have to travel to bear fruit. It just has to remain attached while it grows right where it was planted. And may the God who refused to stay out of our dirt walk with you through the mundane, repetitive hours of your week and show you that you have been on the mission field all along. Because the most famous command in the entire New Testament, the single word that has launched 1,000 ships, if this reached something in you, subscribe. Leave a comment, even one word helps. Share this with someone who feels like their 9-to-5 is just a secular delay to their real calling. Pray for us as we keep digging into these texts. And Built 10,000 Ministries hides a secret in its structure. The word go is not what you think it is. They are staring at a man they watched bleed out on Roman timber just a few weeks ago. His chest is rising and falling. We built an empire on a translation. Look at the infrastructure of modern missions. Look at the glossy brochures stacked on church lobby tables. Look at the globe icons printed on offering envelopes. Listen to the impassioned speeches about leaving it all behind. We have turned a single sentence into a massive geographical mandate. We framed it as a call for heroes, a call for the radical few. A teenager sits in a hard wooden pew. They feel a pull toward the divine. They hear this verse read aloud. They look down at their hands. They assume those hands must pack a bag. They assume they must smell stale, airplane cabin air. They assume they need a passport stamped with fresh blue ink. They think the mission requires an airport. This is not a geographical displacement. It is a vocational lens. For 400 years, English translators have handed us a sentence that looks like a two-step process. Go therefore and make disciples. 2 verbs, 2 distinct commands. Read it like that. And the first step is physical movement. The first step is departure. The logic feels clear. You cannot make disciples until you go. You have to leave the neighborhood. You have to cross a border. You have to abandon the familiar streets you grew up on. But when you build your entire theology on the English word go, he is breathing. This is the moment. It is the climax of 3 years of walking dirt roads, passing baskets of torn bread. You create a massive, unintended spiritual void. You leave out almost everyone. What about the mother warming a glass bottle at 2 in the morning? What about the mechanic wiping thick black grease off his knuckles? What about the accountant staring at a spreadsheet glowing in a quiet, dark room? Are they exempt from the Great Commission? Are they sidelined? Are they simply the funding mechanism for the real soldiers on the front lines? The modern church has accidentally answered yes. We have fractured the body into the called and the common. We have made the holy seem distant. We have made the ordinary seem secular. But the kingdom of God does not operate on a spectator model. The mission is not a special assignment for a spiritual elite. It is the baseline reality for every breathing believer. That division between sacred work and secular life is a modern invention. It is an industrial age concept forced onto an ancient text. It does not exist in the first century mind. And it certainly does not exist on that hill in Galilee. To understand how radically Jesus is tearing down that barrier, you have to look at the men actually standing in front of him. You have to leave the modern church lobby and step back onto the dirt. You have to look at their faces, and sleeping in the backs of sinking fishing boats. This is the mountaintop where the founder of the movement is supposed to hand them. The wind comes off the Sea of Galilee, carrying the faint smell of salt and sun-baked brush. 11 men stand on the uneven ridge of the mountain. They are not wearing pristine robes. They are not holding theological degrees. They have calluses on their palms from hauling wet nets, and deep lines around their eyes from years of working under a punishing sky. Matthew records a detail in his account that most readers gloss over in their rush to get to the famous command. He writes, "When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted." Some doubted. He is breathing right in front of them. They can see the scars tearing through the flesh of his wrists. They can hear the gravel crunch under his sandals as he shifts his weight. And still, standing on the edge of a miracle, they are hesitating. The Greek word Matthew uses here is idistasin. It means to stand in two places at once, to waver. This is not a graduating class of fearless scholars. This is a fractured group of traumatized men. They are standing in an occupied territory. Roman garrisons are stationed just miles away, their armor catching the sunlight. The temple authorities who just orchestrated a brutal public execution are still firmly in power. Just a few weeks ago, these 11 men were huddled behind locked doors, terrified that soldiers were coming to drag them to a cross of their own. They are exhausted. They are confused. The master plan for the rest of human history. You have probably heard this scene preached 100 times. They are staring at a resurrected king, trying to figure out how a dead man is casting a shadow on the dirt. These are the men Jesus is about to entrust with the message of the cosmos. If you were starting a global movement, this is the moment you would hand out the blueprints. This is the moment you would lay out a massive geographical strategy, complete with funding structures and travel itineraries. You would look at this group of hesitant Galileans and tell them to pack their bags, to leave everything behind, and to march toward Rome, Athens, and the ends of the earth. But Jesus does not give them a map. He does not hand them a travel mandate. He looks at men who have spent their entire lives fixing nets, collecting taxes, and walking familiar local roads. He opens his mouth and speaks a single, fluid sentence. And to understand what he actually demands of them and of you, you have to look at the very first verb that leaves his lips. Because the word hiding in Matthew chapter 28 is about to tear the English translation apart. Open your English Bible to Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. You will see a period at the end of verse 18, a full stop, then a capital letter. It is usually printed with a bold heading in your Bible, the Great Commission. Most people assume it is a battle cry for the spiritual elite. Go therefore, and make disciples of all nations. It looks like a starting pistol. It sounds like the first step of a military campaign. But look at the frayed edge of the raw Greek manuscript beneath the English ink. The word translated go in your Bible is the Greek poruthens. It comes from the root porowomai, which means to travel, to journey, to walk from one place to another. It appears all over the ancient texts, but the shock is not in the definition. The shock is in the grammar. In Greek, poroithentes is not an imperative verb. It is not a command. It is an aorist participle, a word of continuous, assumed background action. A better, more literal translation would not read, go. It would read, as you are going. or having gone. It is not an order to depart. It is an assumption of movement. That grammatical shift changes everything. If Jesus had used an imperative command to go, the weight of the mission would rest entirely on the departure. The holy act would be the zipping of the canvas bag, the smell of salt water on a foreign dock, the leaving of the familiar hometown, but he didn't. He used a participle because the geographical movement is not the primary mission. The mission is what happens while you are moving. The Great Commission is not a command to change your location. It is a command to change your awareness, a command to quit your job, pack a suitcase, cross an ocean, and become a missionary in a foreign land. But there is a problem with that reading. As you go to the marketplace to buy grain, as you go to the well, hauling a heavy clay jar, as you go down the dusty road toward Jerusalem, as you go back to your fishing nets, your tax booths, your ordinary, repetitive lives. If the idea of a Bible that doesn't just demand your obedience, but actually dignifies your daily routine is stirring something inside you, you're exactly who this channel is for. Drop a thought in the comments and hit subscribe. Because every week we go deeper into the text than you knew was possible. So, the Greek text strips the command away from the departure. Jesus is looking at 11 men and removing the pressure of the destination. He is telling them that their current life trajectory is already the mission field. Their commute is sacred. Their marketplace is sacred. Their walking is sacred. But that raises a massive, uncomfortable question. If poruthens is just a participle, if Jesus did not actually command them to go, then what did he command them to do? Because in that entire famous sentence, buried under our English assumptions, there is only one true imperative verb. The wind howls across the rocky ridge. The dirt kicks up against their shins. The 11 men wait for the directive. Jesus speaks. It completely ignores the grammar Matthew actually wrote down on the page. The real question of this passage isn't, where is God calling you to go? It's this. He gives them one imperative, one true command, one driving engine for the rest of history. Matheteo, make disciples. In your English Bible, it looks like a two-word phrase. In Greek, it is a single, muskular, verb. It is the heartbeat of the sentence. Everything else, the going, the baptizing, the teaching revolves around this single pivot point. The word comes from the noun mathes, a learner, a pupil, an apprentice. In the first century Jewish world, apprenticeship is not an academic exercise. It is not a correspondence course. It is intimate. It is sweaty. It is loud. You do not learn by sitting at a wooden desk. You learn by walking in the dust behind the rabbi. You watch his hands. You match his stride. You listen to the tone of his voice when he speaks to a beggar on the street. Jesus is looking at 11 men who just spent 3 years doing exactly that. They tasted the salt of the multiplied fish. They felt the cold spray of the sea storm on their faces. They heard the heavy, labored breathing of a leper whose skin was being knit back together. They know what this word means. They know what it costs. He is not asking them to gather crowds. He already had crowds. Crowds followed him for free bread. Crowds followed him for a supernatural spectacle. Crowds shouted for his coronation on Sunday and screamed for his execution on Friday. What are you doing while you are already on your way? For generations, the modern church has treated this mountaintop scene like a divine exit visa. Jesus is done with crowds. Matheteuo is not a strategy for mass conversion. It is the slow, grueling work of spiritual replication. He does not command them to plant massive institutions. He does not command them to draft heavy theological constitutions. He does not command them to conquer political offices. He commands them to replicate the intimacy they just lived. As you go, make apprentices. As you walk the road back to Capernaum, show someone how to walk. As you pull the heavy, wet nets from the water, show someone how to pull. As you break bread in your cramped, smoky dining room, show someone how to break bread. This is how the kingdom expands, not through massive, coordinated military campaigns, not through forced cultural assimilation, It spreads through proximity. It spreads through friction. It spreads through contact. One life rubbing against another life in the mundane rhythms of the ordinary day. The 11 men hear the verb. The command is shockingly simple, but the target Jesus assigns to it is terrifying, because he does not tell them to make apprentices of their friends. The word Jesus uses to define their target is ethne in your English Bible. It is translated cleanly, almost politely, as all Nicaeans. When the modern reader sees that phrase, we immediately picture a map. We picture neat borderlines, colored flags, and the glossy pages of an atlas.